What's going on, guys? John Elder here from Codemy.com, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to make paned windows with Tkinter and Python. Alright guys, like I said, in this video, we're going to look at creating paned windows. But before we get started, if you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out Codemy.com where I have dozens of courses with hundreds of videos that teach you to code. Use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off membership. That's all my courses, videos, and books for one-time fee at just $49, which is insanely cheap. Okay, so paned windows, we haven't really looked at these before, and this is basically a paned window. Now I've changed the colors of them so that we can see them better. But the cool thing about paned windows and why we really kind of care about them is because they're resizable. Look at that, you just grab it and kind of drag and drop inside of your app as it's already, running, and that's kind of cool. So I'm not really sure why you would want to do that, but I'm sure you can think of something. And if you ever do need to do something like that, that's what we're going to look at in this video. So I've created a panels.py file, and it's just our same basic starter code that we always have. And to create panels or paned windows or whatever you want to call them, we use the paned window widget, right? So it's a little bit different than some of the other widgets we've looked at before. We're going to use something called an add function to add the panels in and things like that. So it's slightly different, but not hard at all. So let's just start off by creating our first panel, and I'm just going to call it panel 1, or like that maybe. And this is going to be a paned window, and we don't have to even say, put this in root. I suppose you could, but basically this is all you have to create. Now, I want to do some things to this. I want to give it some style so that we can see it, because normally a paned window is sort of like a frame. It's not visible unless you specifically make it visible some way. So I'm going to create a border of, 4. And then let's give it a relief of maybe sunken or raised, to bop it up or push it back down. And then I'm going to give it a color. This is our first one, so let's call this BG equals red. Okay, so we've defined it. Now we need to pack it onto the screen like we always do. So panel underscore 1 dot, and I'm just going to pack these because it's easy. And now I want to fill this to the entire width of our screen. Remember, we're 400 by 400. So I could go fill equals both. Now you could fill X to fill it, just like horizontally, but fill both is good. And when we do that, we also need to expand it to anything over 0, and it will expand to the entire width of the thing, right? So I'll just put that as 1. Okay, so this is fairly straightforward up until now. So let's create a label so that we can label these and keep track of them. So I'm going to call left underscore label, and that's going to be a label. Now, instead of putting this in root like we normally would, we want to put this in panel 1, right? And then for the text, let's just put, left panel, something like that. Right now, we have to actually, this isn't good enough. Now, normally we would pack this onto the screen, but this is a panel or a paned window. So it's slightly different. This is where we use the add function I was mentioning. So we just call panel underscore 1 dot add. So then we need to panel add. And what do we want to add? Well, we want to add left label, right? Okay, so now let's go ahead and create a second panel. Let's just go create second panel, and let's call this panel underscore 2 and set that equal to, and in fact I can just come up here and grab all of this stuff, but this time we want to put this second panel inside of our first panel. So we want one big panel, and then inside of it to the side we're going to put these other 2. Actually, we only have to create 1 and it'll look like 2, but we'll get into that in a second. So normally when you would put this on the screen, right, you would go put it in root or whatever. We didn't do that here because this was the main panel, but this is now a secondary panel, sort of like a child panel inside of our panel. And so we need to tell it where to go, and we want to put this in panel underscore 1, which is just what we called our first panel, right? Now, once it's inside of there, we need to orient it. So orient equals, and I want to just put this vertical. We'll see exactly what this means in a minute, but we just want to orient it vertically. So, okay, the rest of this, I'm going to change it from red to blue just so we can see the difference between these two things. Okay, so now we need to kind of pack this on the screen, but again, this is panels or paned windows. In my mind, a paned window is just a panel, so that's not the technical term, but I'm always just going to call it a panel. So if I call it a panel, I mean a paned window. You understand where I'm coming from. But we need to sort of add this just like we added our label, right? So we can go, we want to add it to panel 1. So it's panel1.add. And then what are we adding? We're adding panel 2, right? Just like up here, we added the left label. Here we're adding panel 2. So now inside of this panel, panel 2, let's create some labels, right? So let's go top and set that equal to a label. And where do we want this? We want it in panel_2, and the text, let's just call this top panel. And now we need to pack this on the screen, but again, we're not packing, we're adding everything, and we want to add it to pane 2 or panel 2. So we go panel2.add. What do we want to add? We want to add top. Right? So let's also create a bottom one, and that's a label. And we want to put it in panel 2 as well. And we want the text on this to be, I don't know, bottom panel, whatever. And again, we want to add this to panel 2.add. And we want to put in bottom. Okay, so this should work. Let's go ahead and save this, and we're in panels.py. So I can run Python panels.py. And when I do, this is what I get. So let's pull up our code here so we can kind of look through this and try to understand what's going on here. We have our top panel and our bottom panel, which are just these two labels that we created. They're in this blue panel, which is our panel 2, right? Our main panel is the left panel, which is red. And, you know, we can see it like this. So, and then inside of here, to the right of it, we've got this guy that can move around like that. So pretty cool, pretty simple, a little bit different than things we've looked at in the past, you know, as far as adding things instead of packing them. But think of these things as little containers. You know, it's a panel. Inside of the panel, we want to add the thing to the panel. So that's how you do it. So you can play around with this. Instead of vertical, we could go horizontal. If we save this and run it. Now suddenly, instead of being up and down, vertical, you know, stacked on top of each other vertically, now they're stacked horizontally side by side, right? And that makes sense, right? And we can grab it, and now the pane itself goes side to side, horizontally, instead of vertically up and down. So that's cool. And that's really kind of all there is to it. Without all of this sort of color and stuff, right? If we got rid of all of this and got rid of all of this color and stuff, and just ran this regularly without all that, it might be interesting to see. Now it's just, you know, sort of like a frame that doesn't have any coloring, and you kind of have to move your, okay, see there, your mouse turns, and you can kind of do it like that. And same thing over here. And it's really tricky. There we go. Right? But obviously that's not a great thing. But there are certain things maybe you want to do it like that. So kind of interesting. So I'll put that back just so you can reference this in my GitHub repository if you want to look at this code. That'll be there. So okay, so that's pane windows, and that's all for this video. If you liked it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, which I really appreciate, especially on Fridays like today. And check out codemy.com where you can use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off membership. So you pay just $49 to access all my courses, hundreds of videos, and the PDF versions of all my best-selling coding books. Join over 85,000 students learning to code just like you. My name is John Elder from codemy.com, and we'll see you in the next video.